This cabinet is the physical manifestation of my frugal gene contending with my desire to be more minimal. I have trouble letting go of reusable containers that are perfectly good and usable. Another thing is I tend to collect the good quality lids, especially those flip-top kinds that used to always come with the alcohol and hydrogen peroxide bottles. The ones that I buy now, at least, are those really sucky regular bottle type lids. So I tend to keep the old ones in case that the ones that I'm currently using now break. This cabinet is full of problems, and that is the direct result of having too much. We have too much lunch containers, so the containers don't even fit in and they get shoved in randomly. I tend to hoard containers. Things that should be recycled, I wash and keep, but I don't actually use. And we also hold dishes in there that we don't use at all. 5S is a method applied to help with a continuous improvement. The idea is that when you perform these actions regularly, defects and waste can be identified early. The first S is to sort, which means taking items out of their location and going through all of them while keeping only the essentials. And it only took me about 5 minutes to clear everything out of this cabinet. This cabinet holds dishes, bottle caps, washed out food containers, our reusable lunch containers, glass bottles that we use for my son's drinks or in place of travel mugs, and paper bags for my son's school lunches when they require them at school. All this excess inventory happens because my frugal self washes and keeps those too good for the recycle bin containers and caps, while my minimal self is doing this. Let's look at the wastes here. Overproduction. Containers are entering our house faster than we choose to dispose of them. Overprocessing. I do wash and dry and store items that I ultimately do not use or need. Inventory. I'm definitely keeping more than is needed in here and causing us to have to manage and maintain it. For defects, the sheer amount of stuff in here makes it intimidating to go through. Transportation, I'm carrying items to this cabinet when those items really shouldn't be there. Wasted motion, getting some of the containers out is really difficult because there were too many. And waiting, sometimes we'd have to wait for food to cook in order to make those lunches for my husband for the week, which is inconvenient. And unused genius, because I manage the freezer where my husband's lunches are stored, my husband had no good way of knowing whether he was low on lunches or not. But no more. I'm sorting everything now into the items that we need and some that I want. I'm limiting the wants to what will fit in this box. There may be exceptions, but I want to make sure that I'm going to use what I keep. That's the end of that sort. The second S is to set in order. This means placing items where they make the most sense. I like to put like with like, and I try to group them in distinct areas by containing them somehow, either in a bag or a container. And frequently used items would be placed up in front, while rarely used items in the back. The third S is to shine, which is more than just simple cleaning. It's cleaning to inspect for any defects. And since the cabinet was emptied, I took the time to wipe it down with some cleaner. All the while, I'm looking for anything wrong, like signs of water leaks or bugs. Thankfully, there are none. I'm pretty good about examining our containers too, and bottles as I wash them. And broken containers and Tezo tea bottles with rusty caps, those get removed and handled immediately. The fourth S is to standardize. And I did this very loosely by just putting like with like, and I'm hoping that the existing items will communicate to my family where recently washed items go back. For the washed out containers, I need to get into the habit of one in, one out. I want to make sure that I'm going to use what I keep. I'm assigning these a date, and if they haven't been used at that date, then they're going to be recycled. And added a label in order to indicate to my husband where he needs to make his lunches for the freezer. In the world of 5S Lean, this is called a Kanban. Once the level of containers reaches this point, it's difficult to add new ones without removing the existing ones first from the cabinet. Also, if he makes lunches when the level of containers hits this point, he'll be guaranteed at least 1 week's worth of lunch in the freezer at all times, and he won't run out of any already prepared lunches. This does end up happening more often than we'd like, which usually leaves us scrambling the night before to make those lunches. The fifth S stands for sustain, and that is up to the entire family. I'm hoping that with the Kanban line to help my husband with his lunches, and the 1 in, 1 out rule for me, as well as the card with the expiration date, so to speak, I am hopeful that this cabinet can stay in an orderly way. In this session, we were able to implement some standards to help us with 3 of 4 problems, which to me is a huge improvement over what it was, and this whole concept of Kaizen is not to be perfect and find all the answers at once. It's to be continually improving, to make changes that reduce waste and bring value to our lives. These solutions may or may not work, and I'm okay with that because it's better than before, and given time, I know that we will find what works for us.